G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tuckerwald, Marks Point, with this Friday's fishing report. But firstly, probably had the biggest announcement we've had for quite some time. We are starting our Boxing Day sale early. As of 6 AM tomorrow morning, as soon as the doors open, we'll be offering 25% off all rods, no exceptions, all reels, all lures, and all fishing line in store. And to add to that, I'm going to take a further 40% off all of our tackle luggage. Doesn't happen every day, but we're just going to bring it forward and get stuck into this Christmas spirit. Now, the report for this weekend, southerly winds. We're over here at Cooney Island and the wind is just belting down the channel. The seas offshore are going to be very, very difficult. Big swell this morning, and I think offshore fishing this weekend is ill-advised. If you're going to go to the rocks, same situation, guys. The swell is going to be too big in this southerly. As you can see, it is really sort of pouring down at the moment and quite cold. Beaches, it's a bit of a shame that we can't do much on the beaches. Maybe those southern protected corners, Blacksmiths in the corner between, say, the surf club and the breakwater, or even up towards Stockton, the water did warm up. It got to around about 20 degrees. As a direct result, a lot of data we've been talking about, but we've seen an increase in whiting numbers. Bream, and of course, those school mile away have still been around. Surprisingly enough, there are still a few salmon on the beaches, but look, guys, with this swell, I don't think we're going to see any real fishability until we get into early next week. Yesterday, some great reports out of the lake. Good mate of mine, Steve Norris, fished the deep water in the lake, still working soft plastics. He caught 3 beautiful reds. One was 76 centimetres. I've got to tell you guys, that's a fish around about 4 kilo. We got another 2 fish around that 55 centimetre mark, which he kept. The 76 centimetre fish was released unharmed, and further to that, he tagged a couple more of those beautiful flathead between 70 and 80 centimetres. Some tremendous fishing in the lake at the present moment. With this bit of swell that's certainly offshore, we may indeed see a few more of these reds get in there. The highlight this weekend again, the December prawn run. Basically, had a couple of emails this week. I really think that the tide tomorrow night, you're going to get a change of the tide in the channel around about 6:30, but Sunday night being the 10th night, it's going to be the killer. It'll be a 7:30 change. So basically, as the sun starts to set, you'll start to see these prawns run through. It'll just get an hour later every night as we run into Christmas. So just a great opportunity to get out there and have a bit of a go on some of these prawns. Now, question out of last week from an email with the tides. When I talk about fishing the last of the tides, and it's really important to fish the last of the tides when you're fishing the channel, whether that be the last of the run-in tide or the run-out tide, there is a 3-hour delay to the change of the tide after the top of the tide. So just explain it in simpler terms. If high tide was midday and low tide was 6 o'clock, whether it be morning or night, half tide, the change of the tide will always be 3 hours after the tide. So fishing the last 2 hours of any tide would mean that you would want to get out on the water about 1, fish to the change of tide at 3, fish the first half an hour. There are sections in the lake, however, guys, that because, let's say, it was high tide at midday, and we'll use that again as the example, there's a 3-hour delay before you get down to, say, Wyee Point, or in particular up towards Cockle Creek. If you've got a few spots on the water, you can actually fish that high tide the whole way through several spots till you get to those southern or northern extremities of the lake. So just a great opportunity, and just a little bit of clarification on fishing the last ofs. Been some great bream and whiting out here. Got some good reports this week also on the flats. Bream up to 40 centimetres and some really good whiting, but I think that'll really G itself up with this run. You may start to see a few squid back in the channel, and there's been a couple of kings at the bridge. There's also been a few kings in the lake itself, but I reckon a few squid back in the channel and maybe a few of the drop over. I know there are still a few squid around, but you're just going to have to move in. All in all, guys, I think this weekend we're just got to make do with the weather conditions. You can see that wind's backed off a tad now and the sky has started to clear, but the forecast isn't great. Be careful on the water, and don't forget, our early Boxing Day sale starts 6 AM tomorrow morning. Don't be late, because I'll tell you what, there'll be things flying out the door. I'll talk to you next Friday.